Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 538 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our sixth book just came out. It's called I'm So Beautiful, It's Ridiculous, Unleashing and Promoting Strength, Self-Worth, and Real Sisterhood. So go and pick up that book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, as a University at Buffalo graduate, we would often drive across the border into Canada because the drinking age was only 19 instead of 21 in New York State. We had the time of our lives exploring places like Niagara Falls and Toronto, and we quickly made lifelong friends with our fraternity brothers up north who were attending the University of Toronto. The city is super clean, the food choices are endless, and the people are so friendly. And I'm telling you, the most friendly people you will find anywhere in the world. Hopefully, the United States and Canada will continue to have friendly relations for many, many decades to come because we are truly better together. Our next guest is going to talk a little bit more about that. Irma Goosen is a TEDx speaker, a motivational speaker, immigrant success advocate, and an author who commands attention with her informed perspectives on immigrant integration, shaped by her personal path from South Africa to the United States and Canada. Her clear, engaging speaking style makes complex topics of cultural adaptation and leadership accessible and relatable to a global audience. Furthermore, Irma dedicates time to youth leadership programs, focusing on nurturing the next generation of leaders. Her work in these programs is marked by a practical, hands-on approach, teaching young individuals vital skills in communication and resilience. Irma Goosen stands out as a multifaceted professional, equally adept at speaking, coaching, and writing, all while fostering emerging talent in youth leadership. Welcome to the show, Irma.
Thank you very much, Dr. Michael, and I am so glad to be here on your show. You make me sound amazing. I am impressed. So thank you very much for that introduction.
Well, you are very amazing. And if you want to take me in your suitcase all over the country as you speak, I'm glad to travel and do the introductions for you. You just let me know, okay?
Thank you.
So, I think your story is just so fascinating because you are originally from South Africa, then you immigrated first to the United States and then finally to Canada. Talk to our audience a little bit about some of the biggest challenges that you faced as a legal immigrant.
Well, immigration is an adventure, and I think many people wouldn't see it as an adventure because there's a lot of interesting methodology involved in being able to immigrate legally. And some of them are quite surprising. We have to adapt to cultural shifts and foods and rebuilding professional credibility from scratch. Now, there's also the navigating the bureaucracy. Everywhere we go, there's paperwork and you need to go through certain hoops to be able to get to your end goal. And as a legal immigrant, more so because the country needs to see if they actually want you there with them and see if you will be a good fit. And that is what legal immigration is all about. The other thing I had to look at was career setbacks. As an engineer in South Africa and then moving to the US, I had to prove myself all over again. I had to have my credentials validated. And it was difficult because Texans also speak a little bit with an accent. And it was tough for me with English, my second language, back in South Africa, to be able to understand them at first. So that was very interesting. And we had a lot of laughs eventually. And then finally, of course, the cultural differences. Being raised in a different country across the pond and then moving to the US, I was blown away by the freedom of being able to walk your dog and to be okay. You can choose where you want to move, you can choose the areas. Whereas coming from South Africa, I didn't have that choice. So that was in itself a big step forward for me. But each challenge taught me something valuable. And that's why I now focus on helping others integrate successfully and also to make associations and corporations understand why it is important to have legal immigrants on their payroll. Because guess what? It's been proved, and there are statistics coming out that the bank balance of companies can actually increase by 14%. And that's some of the figures I've seen just by using the innovative ideas of the legal immigrants they employed.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, this country needs legal immigration in order to fund all the various work that's going on all over our country. Now, I mean, you could have just, immigrated to the United States and then to Canada and then just went on your merry way to live a lovely life. But instead, you were inspired to become an advocate for other immigrant families. So I guess I'm wondering, like, what made you decide that you were going to help other people? Why is it important for you to help others in terms of their immigration?
It was personal because I knew what it felt like to start over, and I saw how others struggled, how to they felt like outsiders, and you keep on wondering, did I make the right choice? Do I truly belong here? And then the turning point for me was seeing how these struggles impact youth. I almost lost my daughter through bullying because as an immigrant, I was so busy trying to fit in, trying to do the right thing, trying to prove I'm supposed to be here, that I forgot our kids immigrate with us. They grow up in our culture at home, learning what we grew up with. And then they go out and they experience different cultures. And that experience forced me to ask, how do we make immigration easier for families? Those soft skills. How can immigrants thrive and not just survive? We have lawyers and attorneys and the court systems for all the legal side of things, but how do we fit in to our communities? And that's when I started the coaching, the mentoring, and eventually speaking about all these topics and showing immigrants how they do bring value. They, they are needed to build our communities and to create opportunities for our next generation, and even for the ones that are currently maybe between careers or they want to go in a different path. And this gives them the opportunity, not just for the legal immigrants themselves, but for the businesses and the societies that they contribute to.
Well said. You also developed what's called the Connect strategy, and this consists of communication,
Mhm.
open-mindedness, networking, nurturing, exploration, cultivation, and thriving. So this is, to me, it seems like a game-changing blueprint for immigrants from all different countries. Can you break down what these steps are?
Absolutely. Communication is not just to go to someone and say, I don't understand what you want me to do in the work environment. It's about learning to articulate your story, your skills, and your experiences effectively in such a way that you can build new relationships. And then we go to being open minded. So if we go to another country or we go even on vacation, if you are not open-minded of the culture, of the way people live, of certain social norms, if you're not adaptable and embracing change, you cannot then fit into your new country. So it's important for immigrants to understand they need to be open-minded. They need to learn and experience the culture where they are in at that specific moment in time. If you go to another country, you can't expect them to change because you feel they have to change because that is what you think should happen. It's the other way around. We are the guests in another country, so we should respect those countries. And then, of course, networking, building connections is key because it's people that open the doors for you that, qualifications alone won't be able to do. And therefore, if there are any events that you could attend, to be able to get to know more people, whether it's career-wise or even hobbies, whatever you want to do, learn more about the country, sports, then I would think it is very important to do so. Now, nurturing, when you have a baby, you would nurture that baby. You would give it attention. You talk to the baby. You do things, you feed, you clothe, all those things. And if you have animals, I have a dog, you do the same thing. If you have plants, you do the same thing. So why wouldn't we invest in the new relationships that we build? Why don't we not invest in our new community and grow, self-growth, to become someone the community can look up to? And that will ensure your long-term success. The next one we go to is exploration. Well, in the US, because we got there around about Christmas time, I wasn't used to there being any Christmas decorations outside. It was easily taken. So imagine my surprise when I saw all the decor and the lights and just the way people created a different season, but a different atmosphere by decorating their homes. And then, of course, something similar. And we went all across to learn more about the area where we were living in and around surrounding areas. We were in Houston, but then in Canada as well. We've never skied in our lives. So imagine our surprise. And I will never forget this. I was on the bunny hill, pat, up that little conveyor belt. And these little babies with pacifiers in their mouths would just fly past me. And you know those ski poles? So many times I wanted to just stick one out and trip them because I couldn't do what they were doing. I was but up the conveyor belt. So explore, learn about the culture, learn about the food, learn about the environment, learn what makes the country special. And you know what? Learn the language. If you don't speak the language, learn the language to fit in, explore all those options. Then we move on to cultivation. So cultivate your skills and your mindset. Develop them so that you can become an asset everywhere you go. Don't stop growing. The moment we stop growing, we become placid in everything we do, and we lose something to look forward to. We lose the will to live. And that is not what being a human being is all about. And then thriving, not just surviving, but excelling in your career, in your community, and your personal growth. That will make anyone a successful immigrant. And this is a strategy that is designed to shift the way immigrants think when they get into a new country from survival mindset to leadership and impact.
I love that strategy. That's really, really good stuff. I had a question about the open-mindedness piece of it and it being so critical for immigrants. It's interesting to me because, right now the president of the United States and other countries as well seem to be focusing on, here in the United States, America first, right? Everybody's thinking internally that we need to protect our rights as citizens of the United States, and we're going to promote us over other nations, right? But you talk about open-mindedness. So I'm wondering, how can students on college campuses cultivate this open-mindedness to be curious about other cultures in a diverse campus environment that we have?
That is a great question. Open-mindedness is the bridge between discomfort and opportunity. When you move to a new country, things won't always make sense. The social norms, the humor, the food. Have you heard of poutine? That is something that started here in Canada. And it's really just French fries with gravy and some cheese bits in between. And let's not go there. But being open-minded helps you adapt instead of resisting change. It's human nature that we want to resist change. We don't like to change the way we see things in life. But when you are in a different country, that is your opportunity to grow, to be able to do so. And for students, a diverse campus is the best training ground. So they can engage with different cultural groups. There are always cultural groups on campuses. They can join clubs, they can attend events, and that would help them embrace different perspectives.
Mhm.
Ask questions instead of making assumptions. Isn't that so easy to do? To just assume that you know what you think you know, but you don't know what you don't know, right? So curiosity leads to understanding. And I've experienced that myself, both in the US and in Canada. And then they should step out of their comfort zone, try the new foods, learn a new language, or even take a course outside of their major, because by staying open, they'll build friendships, they gain new perspectives, and they position themselves for success in a global workforce.
Mhm. That's great advice. I think that's excellent. One of the things that I think is great about colleges, whether it's in the United States or Canada or anywhere really in the world, is that you're building a really strong network while you're there. I think that is the biggest reason to go to college. Yes, you learn, you get a degree, all those things are great, but building that network because you never know what magic you can create with somebody else, with another student on that campus. And so for immigrant students, how can they build this strong network while they're also balancing their academics, their schoolwork, and other personal responsibilities, like maybe holding a job and other things that they need in order to survive?
Time is limited when you're a student, but networking doesn't have to be overwhelming. And I have some strategies that students can incorporate in their everyday lives. The first one is to be intentional. instead of spreading yourself too thin, focus on quality connections within your field of interest. And I think the emphasis should be quality connections. And then I said before is join student organizations. I am a Toastmaster myself, and there are Toastmaster clubs not only at the campuses, but also outside if they don't have one. They can also join cultural clubs. Professional associations provide natural networking opportunities. They can join areas like the Lions Club or Rotary. There are so many different opportunities to connect with other people. And a lot of it, you don't have to pay a lot of money to become a member, or it's free. So make a choice. And then leverage the professors and the mentors. They can introduce you to the people in your industry. We forget that there were people before us with more experience than us. And as a student, you want to go into university and the world is at your feet and you think you have to figure everything out by yourself, but you don't. There are people who will help you and talk to you. Just ask around.
Ooh.
A very important one for me is use LinkedIn strategically. And you might be surprised that I mentioned something like LinkedIn, social media. No, LinkedIn, because you can connect with alumni. You can reach out for informational interviews and you can engage in discussions. And then the last one is give before you ask. Offer help, share resources, support peers before expecting something in return. When we give, we receive so much more. So by integrating networking into daily activities, it becomes part of the routine rather than an additional stress.
Mhm. Excellent tips. I love LinkedIn, big fan. I'm also a former Rotarian president as well of my club. So I love Rotary and Toastmasters. I mean, the best place to learn public speaking. And all of those places have mentors that these college students can reach out to. And I know that people will help them in those three areas for sure, for sure, for sure. But what about the immigrant student maybe who is feeling isolated on their campus, or maybe they're just struggling to find that sense of belonging and friendship in their new environment? What do you tell that person?
First of all, feeling isolated is normal. Even if you're not an immigrant and you start a new job, a new career, you are going to a different school, change towns, cities, provinces, states, you will still feel isolated. So, it happens to all of us, but it's not permanent. So I've got a few tips for that as well. Find your home away from home. So whether it's a cultural club, a religious community, or a hobby group, finding like-minded people helps. And there are always these notice boards everywhere you go at these campuses, and you can find something there as well. Just look for something that draws your attention. A big one. And that's especially for the introverts who struggle to want to be around people. They just want to be in their corner, read their book, watch their Netflix, or do their homework or whatever. Say yes to invitations. Even when you feel out of place, showing up is half the battle. Create a structure. Routine gives a sense of stability, especially when everything feels unfamiliar. And I'm a big one for that. I like my routines. And then again, seek mentors, the professors, the upperclassmen, or even the local community members. they can also offer guidance. I mean, you will be surprised when you are standing in line to buy your yogurt or some groceries in the grocery store and you start a conversation with someone, who they might be. They could help you. They could be your next mentor. And then remind yourself why you're there at a strange university from a different country as an immigrant, whether it's education, career opportunities, or personal growth. Focusing on the bigger picture helps. And feeling like you belong doesn't happen overnight, but small, consistent little efforts make a huge difference.
Really nice. Really, really nice. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about discrimination and bias that the immigrant students might be encountering on campus. I remember a few years ago when we were going through the pandemic, there was so much political rhetoric that was, for example, against Chinese students, for example, because there was this thought that, somehow China was responsible for the pandemic. And, I think there was just a lot of discrimination and bias that was going on. So, what should students do if they encounter that kind of discrimination or bias?
Fortunately, bias exists. And it's not just when you're a student or an immigrant student, it's everywhere. But how you respond can shape your experience. So, one of the most important ones is not to have a knee-jerk reaction. Stay composed. Don't react emotionally. Instead, address the issues with confidence and facts. And that old rule that our grandparents had: sleep on something before you make a decision, before you react. I still think that's very good advice. Then another one is educate. Don't escalate. Sometimes discrimination stems from ignorance rather than malice. So engaging in open conversations can help change perspectives. Very important, document the incidents. If discrimination occurs, keeping records can help if you need to report it. Then focus on excellence. Your success is the ultimate way to break stereotypes. So, handling discrimination is about balancing resilience with advocacy, standing up for yourself while also creating change.
That's beautiful. Very nice. So, obviously, immigrant students, they have a unique background. They have unique experiences. Certainly, you can say that their resilience is very, very high. So, how can you use all of those things, like these immigrant students, how can they use it to stand out in their future career?
When you are an immigrant student, your background isn't a weakness. It is your superpower. And here is how you can use it. Emphasize your adaptability. We excel at navigating change, which is a key skill in today's workforce. Showcase multilingual skills. I used to speak more languages, but I speak 2 languages fluently at the moment. And English has helped me a lot because my mother tongue is Afrikaans, right? So we don't really speak it in the rest of the world. But I started learning German and Spanish on an app. It's called Duolingo. I don't know if you heard about it. So
Oh, yeah.
I love it because I managed to get more fluent in it. It is a huge advantage in global industries. Then Another thing is to highlight diverse perspectives. Companies value employees who bring fresh ideas and problem-solving approaches. Build a personal brand. Share your stories through blogging, LinkedIn, or speaking engagements. Share your story. It's unique to you. And then leverage your global network. Connections in different countries open up international opportunities. Instead of blending in, immigrants should embrace what makes them unique. It's what employers and industries need.
100% agreed. Absolutely right. I also really liked your TEDx talk. It's called How to Survive Immigration. And I was wondering for all the students out there that are thinking about doing their own TEDx talk, they might want to know, how do you prepare for something like that?
Thank you. I am actually busy coaching a student, and I managed to get her on a TEDx stage in April, which is very exciting. And I am also coaching Toastmasters who are wanting to move forward. It's such a unique way of bringing your experience, your story to the world, and to manage convincing people and to bring them a little bit closer to you, to be able to touch them. And the first and most important thing is find your core message. TEDx Talks is a journey in itself. It's not just about speaking. It's about crafting a powerful message that sticks. Something that when the audience leaves, that they will remember something in your talk to change their lives. Structure matters. It's like writing a great book. There's a hook, there's a conflict, there's resolution. You put all of that in your TEDx talk. Rehearse relentlessly and again and again and again. I practice my talk in front of mentors, in front of my clubs, in front of friends, in front of the mirror, my dogs, my animals, my kids, nature. Practice, practice, practice. And then engage with your audience. The best talks feel like they're more like a conversation and not exactly a lecture, because the TEDx structure is so much about information. So make it as if you're talking to your friendly neighbor. Giving a TEDx talk was one of the most rewarding challenges for me, and it reinforced my belief in the power of storytelling. And that is why wherever I speak, I tell stories, because stories engage people and they remember stories, because we all have stories, right?
Really, really well done. I'm going to have to come to you for my coaching whenever I'm ready for my TEDx talk. I'll have to remember to give you a call. So, this is really good stuff. This has been a lot of fun and I know very informative. And one of my weaknesses is really good food. I love to eat. I love to eat foods from every cuisine, from every country. So, the next time that I find myself in Alberta, Canada, where should I be going for a great meal in town?
I've found a couple for you actually. The one is Char Bar. So it is all about, you can walk in dining and you can have great, great food there. The other one is Native Tongues Taqueria with multiple locations. And then the Caesar Steakhouse. Now, here is a very interesting fact for you. It's a Calgary institution. I'm here in Calgary, Alberta, in
Mhm,
Canada,
mhm.
since 1972. and Caesars continues to welcome guests at all its locations.
Very nice. So we have three options in Calgary. This is going to be a lot of fun. I can see I'm going to eat a lot next time I'm in town. So that's a good thing. Well, listen, Irma, thank you so much for spending time with us today. This has been just a lot of fun to spend time with you. And I think your words are going to help so many students all over, not just the United States, but all over the world. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for your TEDx talk. And I appreciate you spending time with us today.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. I appreciate you so much for doing that. And I feel that the more we talk about legal immigration and the advantages, the more we can show people that, you know what, we too are people and we too matter and we can bring something to the table. So thank you so much for a great conversation.
You're very welcome. That's the best way to end the show. So I'm going to end it right there. If you enjoyed this conversation with Irma, I want you to like this and I want you to share it with other college students that need to hear her words. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Bye for now.